hear a lot about how wealthy people seek to influence elections, and that is certainly a very real and serious problem, but it's much bigger than that.
We are not going to allow South Africa to be sold over a plate of curry.
Ever wondered how one family's sudden rise to power could shape the destiny of an entire nation? This is a story of the Gupta brothers, a story that is gripping as it is astonishing. Imagine a journey that starts from obscurity and leads to unparalleled influence, with connections that reach the highest ranks of power. But theirs is not an ordinary rags to riches kind of story. This tale takes a dark turn, leaving a nation in turmoil and its people demanding answers. Hailing from India and settling in South Africa, they embarked on a journey that defied all odds. From humble beginnings, they navigated the business world, building an empire that stretched into every corner of the nation. But their story isn't confined to amassing wealth. It's a story of accumulated influence, forged connections, and a network of political alliances that few could match. Mixing with the political elite, their relationships granted them access to corridors of power that most could only dream of. As their influence grew, so did the spotlight on their dealings. The Gupta family's actions caught the attention of investigative journalists who refused to let shadows linger unexamined. This isn't just a tale about politics and corruption. It's a story of a nation grappling with betrayal and the pursuit of justice. It's a story about how the wealthy elite become so powerful that they seize control of entire states.
You know, the worst thing about the Guptas for me, other than the blatant corruption and the state capture, would have to be the fact that I felt betrayed by my president. I'll tell you why I felt betrayed, because I'm not naive enough to believe that there will ever be no corruption in a society. Right? And as South Africans, you also have to acknowledge that corruption and government go hand in hand. I know that seems like a pessimistic view, but it's true all over the world. Don't be fooled by first world countries where they go like they don't have corruption. I don't care if it's Australia, I don't care if it's Canada, there's corruption. They've just found ways to legalize it, they've found ways to obscure it, but there's corruption. The difference is, though, we need to get good at functional corruption. Our corruption is extreme, guys. We get a tender for 10 bridges, we build nothing. No, guys, build 9, still 1.
Despite being in the country for over 2 decades, the Gupta family literally zoomed into the consciousness of South Africans in April 2013, when they were allowed to use the South African Air Force base at Waterkloof to land a plane load of 217 guests from India who were attending a family wedding at the exclusive Sun City Holiday Resort, located in the Northwest Province. Leaked emails in 2017 revealed that public funds were in fact laundered from a project in Free State Province via Dubai to pay for this showcase wedding. As the sirens and blazing lights swept their way to Sun City, one would have thought that a foreign head of state had arrived. They put on a real show. Questions were raised and fingers pointed to the president. This illegal landing was the beginning of an end to the Gupta Empire. The incident was dubbed Guptagate by the media, and public sentiment began to stiffen against the closely bonded families. But it was too late. The family had been plundering the economy for over 2 decades already. The journey of the Gupta family began in 1993, a pivotal time as South Africa embarked on the path of non-racial democratic governance. The Gupta brothers, AJ, Atul and Rajesh, made their way from the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. Their sights set on the opportunities offered by a nation in transition. Atul, the middle brother and a public face of the family, spearheaded the establishment of Sahara Computers, a venture that paved the way for their meteoric rise. This business venture proved to be the foundation upon which their empire would be built. Yet, their ascent was not solely a tale of technological prowess. It was marked by proficient fusion of entrepreneurship and strategic partnerships. Sahara Computers laid the groundwork for an array of business endeavors, from mining services to aviation. These ventures would become the tendrils that reached into every corner of South Africa's landscape, establishing the Guptas as prominent players in various sectors. However, their narrative extended beyond entrepreneurship. The Gupta family navigated a complex network of political affiliations, forming powerful connections with the political elite. Among these connections was a significant relationship with former President Jacob Zuma. Through a series of strategic alliances, they positioned themselves as influential stakeholders in South Africa's political ecosystem, holding sway over key decision makers and institutions. Their involvement in South African affairs was not limited to business and political connections. It extended to cultural and societal spheres. The depth of their influence became strikingly evident in the Gupta's role in shaping the cabinet appointments and policy decisions. Allegations abounded that they played a pivotal role in influencing the composition of the South African cabinet. From Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas's assertion of a ministerial offer, their imprint on governance was undeniable. It was this manipulation of the cabinet that led to the nation being effectively captured by the Guptas. Simply put, former President Jacob Zuma had effectively sold the reins of an entire country. Remember that old saying? It's not about who the president is, but about who holds the president's purse strings. Yep, take a moment and let that sink in. Now, state capture is a type of systematic political corruption in which private interests significantly influence the state's decision-making process to their own advantage. How is state capture different from typical corruption, you might ask? Classical corruption involves individual politicians taking side payments for preferential treatment and outsourcing contracts. A small deal here, a license payment there. Full-on state capture is where corporations can influence the nature of the legislative process, and political actors allow them to do so for the private gain. The whole policy-making structure of the state becomes commodified, something that politicians are willing to sell. If traditional corruption means slipping a bribe to every police officer that catches you speeding, state capture means paying to have your car fitted with police lights so that no officer dare stop you from speeding again. Rather than paying to get away with breaking the law, you pay to make the law work for you. The level of influence that these affluent individuals had over the state was nothing short of baffling. It's like pulling back the curtain on a play that was masterfully scripted, but the actors were far from virtual actors. They were real people in a real world. The Guptas' ascent to power was not just a coincidence. They strategically navigated the intricate landscape of government-business relations, leveraging their connections to secure lucrative state contracts. It wasn't just about hard work and entrepreneurial spirit. It was about exploiting the vulnerabilities of a system that lacked proper checks and balances. One glaring example that sent shockwaves across the nation was their involvement with Eskom, the state-owned electricity utility. The Guptas allegedly influenced the awarding of significant contracts by Eskom, enabling them to rake in substantial profits. Imagine the audacity of orchestrating a shadowy dance behind closed doors, while the public was kept in the dark about these backroom deals. Mind you, South Africa is currently facing an energy crisis. Could the current crisis stem from the Gupta state capture saga? Highly possible. Investigative journalism played a pivotal role in exposing these allegations. It was the relentless pursuit of truth by journalists and media outlets that peeled back the layers of deceit. The Daily Maverick, a beacon of investigative reporting, brought the Gupta's misdeeds to light by leaking around 30,000 emails connected to them. These emails confirmed some of the suspicions raised by the Public Protector's report and unveiled a vast network of involvement, ranging from government officials to state utilities. One incident that exemplified the audacity of their actions was when Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas came forward with shocking revelations.
Third day of the state capture inquiry has wrapped up, with former Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas making shocking allegations against the Gupta brothers today.
He said that everything that they do is legal and that they create jobs and contribute to the economy. He said that at the moment, we, which I understood again to be the Gupta family, earn about 6 billion from the fiscus through various entities, including Eskom, Transnet, and government departments. He said that they wanted to increase this amount to 8 billion.
He disclosed that he had been offered a staggering sum of 600 million rands, roughly equivalent to $44 million at the time, by AJ Gupta himself. The offer came with a chilling proposition: to accept the role of finance minister and utilize his newfound position to replace key executives within the national treasury. These executives were perceived as obstacles to the Gupta family's ambitious business endeavors. Remarkably, Jonas had the courage to decline this brazen offer, refusing to be a complicit in the erosion of the country's integrity. As the allegations came to light, the public's awareness of the scandal grew exponentially. People began to realize the extent to which their government had been compromised, and the trust they had once had in the system eroded. The Gupta's influence wasn't just about securing contracts. It was about undermining the very essence of democracy and justice. South Africans began to ask themselves what had become of their country. A nation they had fought so hard to free from oppression. But the struggle for accountability was far from smooth. Zuma mounted legal challenges against the report's recommended actions, attempting to divert attention from his own wrongdoings. In their defense, the Guptas argued that the attacks on them stem from the fact that they represent a challenge to white capital and a class structure shaped historically under white minority rule. Were the Gupta family's actions a pushback against historic economic inequality or a case of personal gain through state manipulation? Some argue that the Guptas challenged entrenched white capital dominance. However, while this idea has merit, their swift accumulation of wealth and divisive tactics seem more about exploiting the state for personal gain. This aligns more with the state capture, a practice where powerful entities bend the government to their advantage, rather than a genuine challenge to white capital. The complexity of South Africa's economic transformation suggests that state capture better explains the Gupta's actions. The Guptas have since left South Africa. I guess the question that looms over us is, what are we to make of these allegations of state capture? Is this merely a tale of corruption, or is it a testament of the fragility of democracy that can be easily undermined by unchecked power? The Gupta story is not just a story of a family's rise to prominence. It's a story of a nation's struggle to reclaim its integrity and restore its faith in governance. And that brings us to the end of this saga. I'd love to see you in the comment section and all that. And don't forget to hit that like button. It was a great time. It was a pleasure hanging out with you today. See you next time. And thank you for watching the video. Peace.